Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 90, where I was white. I kicked off with e4, and my opponent played the Sicilian defense. And if you look at the opening book, you'll see we're playing all the main moves here. And the main line in this opening book is the Najdorf Sicilian a6, and so that's what he played. And now here I didn't play the most common move, bishop e3, but I played bishop g5. It's the other top choice. And then bishop e2 is a line I haven't played that's supposedly a more positional choice favored by Karpov. But I play either bishop e3 or bishop g5. And he plays e6, f4 is a normal move. And now queen b6 goes into the poison pawn line, where he threatens to take this pawn, and white plays queen to d2 and lets him take the pawn. Or that's one way to play it. He can also play knight back to b3 and defend the pawn that way. But he chooses the other main way to play this, bishop to e7. Knight bd7 is also a choice, and queen c7. So a lot of choices here for black. And I go queen f3, and he goes queen c7, the main move in this position. The idea with queen c7 is usually to support the pawn push to b5, so that when I play e5, it's not a double attack. Well, it is a double attack. The pawn's attacking the knight, and the queen's attacking the rook, but he has the move bishop to b7 to attack the queen and defend the rook, and that gives him time to save the knight. So that's the usual purpose of this move, queen c7. But my opponent has a different idea in this game. He doesn't play b5 right away, and he doesn't play knight bd7, which is the other main move here. He plays knight to c6. And at this point, it's interesting that the computer thinks I should just play knight takes c6. So I wanted to look at this a little bit with the aid of the chess engine, because usually knight takes c6 is not such a great move in these Sicilians. It brings the pawn towards the center and strengthens black's center here, and gives him some more options as to whether he's going to push with d5 or e5. So, but let's check it out. Knight takes. B takes, it says, is the best choice for black. And then e5 or queen g3 are moves here. Queen g3, e5. Let's look at e5 and see what that does, because I think trying to disrupt the center is pretty thematic here. D takes e5, f takes e5, and knight to d5. I guess doesn't want to go to d7 and block in the bishop. Let's back up a second. Knight d7 is a possibility, but bishop takes e7 is would force him to retake with the queen, the king rather. So knight to d5, and then bishop takes e7, knight takes e7. Okay, so let's get to this position and take stock here. So there's a lot of choices for white here. Queen d3, knight e4. He's got a light squared bishop. I guess black's light squared bishop is somewhat hemmed in by his own pawns, and he's got an advanced pawn on e5 here, which is not immediately coming under attack. I guess knight to knight to g6 attacks that pawn, so he's going to have to defend it in some way. Let's see, knight e4, queen e3. Why is knight e4 not followed by queen takes? It looks like this pawn is hanging, right? Queen e3 defends the pawn, queen g3 defends the pawn, knight e4. Queen takes. Knight to d6 check. And king here. Oh, there's a mate. Okay, well that's a neat trick. So, so this pawn is immune, because the check and threatening to win a pawn over here at least. I guess the king could have gone the other way, but if he went that way, well, if he goes the other way, he's walking into a discovered check. Yeah, okay, so knight d6 is pretty strong here after knight e4. Okay, well that was it pretty much for the opening book. Let's go back to the game. I was just curious about that point. So I did not play knight c6. I played g4, and yeah, we're out of the opening book, so let's look at the notation page. So that was knight takes c6, maybe the best way to play. Go ahead and exchange off that knight and push ahead with e5, and then try to hold on to that strong pawn on e5. Interesting. So I played g4 here, and now the game is about even. He plays knight takes d4, rook takes forced, and now he plays e5. And this is the other point I wanted to look at with the engine. You'll see it thinks a very peculiar move is good here. Bishop takes f6. So, I mean, there's threats here. I didn't see all the threats during the game, but obviously he's threatening to take the rook. But the second threat is the bishop is threatening to take here on g4, supported by his knight. So there's sort of two threats going on. So if I play bishop takes f6, and he takes the rook, then I could play knight d5 hitting the queen. It's that tempo move, hitting the queen. Knight d5 hitting the queen, queen moves, and then bishop takes e7. So I pick up a piece for some pawns. Now that's a pretty neat tactic. Let's back up and see that again in slow motion. So he plays e5. I can play bishop takes knight, and if he takes my rook, I can move the knight with tempo on the queen and then take his bishop. So this knight to d5 here forks the queen and the bishop, basically, is the problem. So after bishop takes, he would take back with the bishop. Instead of taking the rook, he would take back with the bishop as his best move. And then I play knight d5, queen moves, and then I retreat the rook. Or rook to c4, rook to d2, but it says rook to c4 is the best move. Pretty interesting. And now the queen is protecting this pawn on g4, so the bishop can't take there anymore. And looks like a strong position. So after e5, that's the way to play it. Take the knight. It's pretty interesting. If I don't take the knight, I could retreat. Oh, I could play rook to c4. I actually thought about this after I made my move. Rook to c4 hits the queen, and then bishop takes f6. It's another way to play. Okay, but the way I played is just wrong, and it's because I didn't see the second threat, which is bishop takes g4, which my opponent played. And it's pretty much over here. Let's just go ahead and go through the moves and see if there were any more chances. But basically, I'm just down the exchange for nothing, and black has a good position on top of it. It's always tough to hang on to these pawns that you've advanced, and if you don't have an attack, which has pretty much been diffused. And I've lost a pawn and the exchange. So there were no tricks here. Yeah, I tried doing what I could, but even after winning the rook back, you see that black still has a strong advantage here. And I'll just show that again. I played this move, bishop to h6, and he could have played knight e8 and defended that pawn, but he chose just to play g6, and simplifies things, and he still has an advantage. So, and there's a neat mate at the finish. So, well, look at this. It seems like I'm almost getting back into the game with knight d5. What did I play here? Knight g4. So his advantage has diminished somewhat. This king move was not accurate. What does it say for the next follow-up move? Bishop c2, rook d1. Yeah, bishop c2 is a move I need. I'm going to have to play eventually because he's got his knight coming here. Rook to d1, putting the rook on a better file. Okay, so king over there, maybe not the best move. Knight comes in, and the rook comes in and chases me this way. Yeah, I guess this was a problem. My king maybe should have stayed over on the queen side. I was thinking I needed it for defense against these black pawns that are going to come rolling through. But my king is just too exposed over here, and eventually he chases me around and then plays this move, bishop c5 check, which the computer's been calling for a while. And now this is just all over. It doesn't really matter what I do. There's a mate in 3 here. So this is cute. So after I move the knight, it's mate in 3. It says I could try b4, but he can push ahead with after b4, bishop to a7, h3, yeah, h3 trying to fend off these pawns, and rook e2. I'm just not getting anywhere really. He's still just got the overwhelming advantage. So, but knight to d1 allows this knight this nice mate in 3 or 4. So it says quickest is rook g2, but the way he did it is all with checks. So g4 check, king goes there, rook there check, king goes there, rook there check, king goes back, and then rook up to mate. So notice the bishop is cutting off this square here, and the knight's cutting off that square. So that's checkmate. The pawn's defending that square. Okay, interesting game. Even though it was kind of a opening screw up, that's always informative to learn about these positions in the opening. So after this move, e5, taking there would have been a way to keep an advantage. And then in this position, instead of letting him take my knight, I should probably take his knight first. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that, got something out of it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.